Hi, my name is Dan Connor. I own Bimmer Performance Center, and in this video we're going to be talking about an internal project we got going on where we'll be making some big power with our E34 M5 and S38 engine. You might be asking yourself, well, why would you invest time into this platform? What makes this so special? Well, back in 1991, there was only two M engines. You had the S38, and then you had the S14, which is the same engine with two cylinders missing in the E30 M3. What makes this so special is strength, simplicity, and its ability to make big power. Well, how does it make big power? Well, if you come over here, we're going to start with the bore. And here I have an S55 piston out of a M3 F80, and I have a piston out of the S38, and you can see the size difference, just massive. This is 84 millimeter bore, this is 93.4 millimeter bore. Well, why does the bore matter? Well, simply, it allows more air in and more air out by letting you run larger valves. So if you take the intake valve here, you take the exhaust valve here, you run them right to the edge in their own pockets, you can see it's right to the edge of the piston. Well, that's our cylinder wall, as on the other side of that. So if you wanted to go with larger valves, you can't because they're going to crash into the cylinder wall. On this block and head combo here, we have intake valves that are 28% larger and exhaust valves that are 14% larger. Well, that allows more air to come in and more air to come out. That can't be achieved with a smaller bore. Not to mention, in the center of a modern engine, whether it be an S55, B58, any BMW engine right now, there are direct injection injectors there along with the spark plug. And by putting the injector there, you have to move the valves out, which costs you real estate, which also makes the valve smaller. Okay, not to mention, we're going to talk about stroke here. So here's a rod from an S55, and here's a rod from the S38. You can see they're almost identical in length. So you have a large bore and a short stroke, which is optimal for RPM. This is not a compromise engine per se. Modern engines have a smaller bore and a larger stroke, and they're smaller in displacement. The reason they do that is so that you can have a little more torque down low, where the majority of the time you're going to be driving the car around down the street. Now, this engine really isn't concerned with that. This is, in BMW's eyes, a race motor. Okay, what else makes this thing special is the cylinder head. Here we have a CNC head with 1.5 millimeter oversized valves, but on the other side of this, instead of having Valvetronic or having all the other pieces, parts, the centric shaft, the followers, all the rollers, the hydraulic lifters, we get this engine does away with all that, and it's a shim on bucket style lifter from the factory. So what does that mean? There's no hydraulics in here, and the cam rides on top of this bucket, and you can change the bucket or the shim on top of the bucket to adjust your valve clearance, which is really cool. Well, in factory configuration, this is pretty heavy. You can see how thick this shim is. So what we do is we're going to convert this to a lash cap or shim under bucket. So you have a really lightweight bucket, and instead of running this big shim here, all you got to do is run a small little lash cap like this guy. Less weight. Well, why is that important? Well, as you go up in RPM, you know, we have aftermarket springs in here too, stiffer spring rate or dual spring, and that helps with this. But the faster you go, this has the potential to slide out and fall out. When that happens, it's just going to destroy everything. So if you go with a lighter weight setup here, you can turn higher RPM and have no worry of losing one of these heavy shims. It's time consuming, yes, but it's worth it in the end there. So Also, our block. Our block is an iron block. We have, come over here, this aftermarket girdle setup, which is similar to the new B and S58 engines, where, you know, what makes a straight six special is you got 7 main caps for the crank, but this additional bracing here will bolt to the oil pan rail and to the main caps and help keep everything nice and from not moving, right? Because that's the last thing you want when you're talking about small clearances like, you know, 1,500, 2,000s. You want everything to stay and not have any type of movement here. For this build, pretty excited about this. We chose an HPT 8280. So we got an 82 millimeter inducer with a 80 millimeter exducer. The manifold we went with is T4 open billet collector. We had PPF do this, and it's a really nice manifold coupled with this really nice turbo. The backside's a .96. It's a ball bearing and oil only, no coolant, which will be fine for us because this is, you know, this is like a half-mile type car, an exhibition car. We're not road racing this car where we would need the extra coolant with water inside the turbo. Come over here, we'll talk about the engine. This is where it gets exciting. So, more about the engine rather. Right here, you got 6 individual throttle bodies, and it's cable driven, so there is no EML, there's no sport mode, there's no, it's raw. When you hit the gas, there's no throttle intervention from a DME or, I mean, when your foot's to the floor, your foot's to the floor on this car. And to couple with that, we're going to step it up. We're going to get rid of the distributor. We got a cam trigger wheel and a billet plate to go on that. We're going to go individual coil packs. This, underneath this box, is the BMW calls it the E-box, and this is where the stock Bosch DME was at. Well, for Megasquirt, we went with the MS3 Pro, and it's a really nice unit, and it's plug and play, and legitimately, you plug it in and the car will start. It's really impressive. So that doesn't fit in this E-box, so what we did was we cut the harness, we extended the harness into the cabin of the vehicle, and that MS3 Pro now sits in the glove box. Our plan is to have that 8280 sit right here where this coolant reservoir is, and we're going to have a 3-inch outlet coming off of the turbo. It's going to run up top here where we have a custom radiator that we're building, and then it's going to feed this intercooler right here, which is really cool. So it's 3-inch in, it's a 1200 horsepower core, and then it's 4-inch outlet, because this motor's, the throttles are here. This is just an air inlet at this point here. It does have a cool intake manifold. It's got vacuum operated short runner and long runner setup with inside of it. The trans we're going to be using is pretty cool. So QuickTime makes a bell housing adapter, and what we're going to do is put a T56 close ratio Magnum behind this, which will be great. The shifter, we've measured it, is in the exact same location, and you know that trans takes a bunch of power. Obviously the power we're going to be making is north of 1,000. We're going to shoot for 1,1200. The stock 5-speed is not going to handle that. You might ask yourself, well, why didn't you want to run a ZF 8-speed? Everyone's running an 8-speed. Well, we like the car simple, and it's more fun to drive with 3 pedals. It may not be faster than an 8-speed, but the fun factor will be there, and you don't have to worry about fluid temps. You don't have to worry about another computer interfacing with the standalone computer. You don't have to worry about, there's a whole slew of pluses that the only minus is, you know, it might be a little bit slower, but that's not why we're building this car. This car is a driver's car. It's to have fun. So this is just the first video of many that we're going to be showcasing as this build progresses, and as pieces and parts start to move, we'll be updating you as well. So if you like this type of stuff, give a like and subscribe, and stay tuned. We've got more coming. Thank you.